Hello, welcome to Open Your Mind Radio. You have myself, Alan James.
Myself, Stephen George. Good evening.
Good evening and Happy New Year to everybody who's tuning in to the radio. Another year, another start of the year, the 1st of January. And I haven't made any New Year's resolutions. What about you, Steve?
I make the same New Year's resolution that I make every year. And that's it's all a waste of time, so I just don't bother.
Yeah, my New Year's resolution is not to make any New Year's resolutions. That's basically it. Now, you might find that Steve's audio is a bit funny, and his voice might be a little bit funny, so I'll pass it over to Steve, and Steve can explain why.
Right, my audio is funny and my voice is funny, yeah. Someone got me a clown costume for Christmas. No, actually, I'm actually at home, so I will be reaching for the mute button. It's not that I couldn't get up to OYM, but I think it was more I was banned. But no, I've actually got a dose of a flu that appears to be going around, and the whole family, we've all had it over Christmas. And to say it ruined the Christmas will be an understatement. We still haven't even got our taste buds back. So yeah, I've just decided that it will be obviously better if I didn't actually go up and infect Alan and his family, because so far I think they've managed to avoid it. So as we're still probably contagious, I don't know. I just figured I would actually stay home. So it's nice to be here. I suppose it's nice to be anywhere. It's great to be above ground at this time of year with everything that's happening. So yeah, that's the situation anyway. I'm actually at home, so if the audio does sound funny or strange or whatever, I do apologise.
Okay, no problem. Well, I'm manning the controls in the OYM studio at the moment, so hands like an octopus, so I'll do my best to make sure everything runs smoothly. So, well, before we crack on, our guest on tonight, on the show tonight, is Danielle Vérité. Danielle's been on the show a few times, and we're going to be talking about 2017 and what we think is going to be happening. And we have a few things to talk about, but before we do that, let's find out what the communication channels are.
The communication channels are email info@oymireland.com, by phone 046 927 1212, and you can also contact us direct through the OYM chat room.
Yes, the phone number, if you want to call into the show this evening, is 046 927 1212. If you want to call in from outside the Republic of Ireland, it's 00353 469 271212. We also have the OYM chat room. If you log into oymradio.com, that is the website. You will see all the links to social media or the anti-social media. You'll see all the links there on the left-hand side. You will also see the link to the chat room. A big hi to everyone already in the chat room. And also People's Internet Radio. We're going to monitor the chat room there as well for questions this evening, questions or comments. And also info@oymradio.com is the email address. If anybody would like to fire us off an email during the show or after the show, just to let us know that you heard the show, let us know what you think. That would be fantastic. Alan.
Brilliant stuff. Okay, now, as usual, we have a few things to talk about and to mention before we get a guest on. I'm going to kick off with a lot of the chat. Now, remember the last show we did before we finished, we talked about this energy wave, and there's loads and loads to talk about it around the internet, and everybody was saying, oh, we won't feel anything, it's happening, but we won't feel anything, and other people thought, oh, it's going to be the end of the world and all that kind of stuff. Well, the plan of attack was for the energy wave to hit the earth around the 26th and 27th, and people did say they felt, certain things happening, different energies, as opposed to causing major earthquakes and producing serious levels of radiation. I don't think that's happened, not that I know of anyway, based on some of the research that I've looked around and videos I've been looking at and people talking about. The likes of BP Earthwatch and a few other people were showing that there was definitely something going on. There's definitely something going on from an Earth point of view, but to the level of what way that would affect the planet, I don't think had that much of an effect on it. Now, the mainstream media, as we normally say, weren't saying anything about it, so obviously it's worthwhile. If they don't say anything about it, it's worthwhile keeping an eye on things. And if they do say something about it, then chances are it might be just fake news or fear porn. But we always say, you don't know what's around the corner, whether it's a banking crisis or whether it's a bail-in from the banks or whatever happens, it's always good to have some kind of prep. Whatever. That might be some food in for maybe a month, and a bit of money, cash in the pocket. Whatever you can afford or you can actually stock up on and have ready. It's always good to have that just in case. Because you never know. There could be multiple situations there. So you just have to be aware of that. Now, we're also told one of our guests that we've invited on the show, he'll be on the show in a few weeks' time. His name is Dr. Joseph Cipollone. And Dr. Joseph did say to us there, the last time we had him on, which was early last year, that December would be kind of the end of everything. And, we're in January at the moment. But maybe there's something up with the timing. Maybe the timing has changed. So we have asked Dr. Joseph Cipollone to come back on the show to tell us what changes have taken place and why, there's been a change of plan, if that's it. So we're looking forward to that, see what Dr. Joseph said. So we're just organising that with him at the moment. He's in Australia. But Steve, over to you.
Yeah, it is kind of interesting that, we did kind of get to the end of the year, and as you say, we are now on the 1st of December, or 1st of January, 2017, and nothing has happened. So a lot of people in a lot of places have, I think, ended up with egg on their face, and I think we're lucky in a sense, excuse me, that we just put the information out there. We don't say that one should believe it. We always do say that one should look at it as just information and view it as that and nothing else, because we don't want to be accused either of trying to put people in fear, because fear is a negative emotion, and all we want to do is put people in positive frame of mind, i.e. love. That's all we want. So yeah, it'll be very interesting to see what Dr. Joseph has to say. If I had to take a stab in the dark, I'd say, yeah, you're probably on the money there. It'll be something to do with timelines. Somebody will say, yes, this was all going to happen. Something was going to kick off, and it didn't because someone changed the timeline. So all we can do is wait and see. But anyway, speaking of 2016, and the year that was, we were very sorry to hear, like a lot of people, the deaths that occurred. Just a few deaths that we'll throw out there in 2016. Rick Parfitt of Status Quo, George Michael from Wham, didn't expect to see anything like that. Prince, Leonard Cohen, David Bowie, Pete Burns, Natalie Cole, Glenn Frey, George Martin, Greg Lake of Emerson, Lake and Palmer, Carrie Fisher, and Carrie Fisher's mom, Debbie Reynolds. I mean, wow, a lot of deaths, an absolute plethora of, and that's only some. We're just kind of scratching the surface there. They're obviously the more famous ones. I mean, I didn't even hear. I was just speaking with Alan before we went live. Glenn Frey. I didn't realize Glenn Frey had died as well. And just a lot of deaths. It's well, I suppose in one sense, people who suggested that 2016 was going to be the end of the world. Well, it was for those people on that list. So, maybe it is to do with timelines. Who knows? We're obviously all on the wrong timeline.
Yeah, it's there's a list on the internet of everybody that's died in 2016, and it seems to be a bad year for stars, moving over to the other side. Right, okay. The other thing that we've seen on the Independent, it's amazing when you get a country like certain countries in the Middle East, who, especially if they're involved with human rights, and certain things happen over there. Now, this is in the Independent.co.uk. And again, is it true? Is it fake news? I don't know. But it's interesting that they were saying that what kind of barbaric cult sanctions this oppression of women beheaded for shopping? A woman has been beheaded for visiting a city without her husband, officials in Afghanistan have said. The 30-year-old was decapitated and stabbed to death on Monday evening in Lati in Serapol province of northern Afghanistan. The Middle East press claims a government spokesman told them Taliban militants killed her for the infidelity act of going shopping without a male guardian. I mean, if that did happen, and I'm sure it does happen, the likes of the ladies who get stoned for having an affair or something like that, or you hear about girls who get raped and they get flogged because they got raped. I mean, seriously, any religion, doesn't matter what religion it is, any religion or any belief system that says you have to hurt somebody else, I'd be walking away from, and I'd be questioning. And that includes the Catholic religion, because the Christian Crusades, how many people did they kill? You know? So I just think that's barbaric, and it's unbelievable that this is happening. And it's part of, obviously, the men. You know, education wakes people up. Knowledge wakes people up. If you're educated and you know what's going on, then it's very hard to be deceived. But if you're ignorant and you don't know what's going on, then you can be deceived. And we see that on a day-to-day basis even with the Irish government and the governments, the way they treat people. You try and wake people up to the banking system and the fractional reserve system and explain to them about usury, and they go, you're mad. And that's just kind of the level of ignorance. Now, I seen a quote the other day on the internet which I thought was very good, saying you're born ignorant and it takes a hell of a lot to stay ignorant in this world. And unfortunately, a lot of people do stay ignorant. You know, and obviously ignorance is a choice these days with all the information that's out there. So it's just amazing. But any belief system that gets you to harm somebody else, I'd be walking away from. I question it. It doesn't matter what it is. But that's just barbaric. But Steve, over to you.
Yeah, I actually kind of laughed when you said at the very beginning of that a woman had been decapitated and stabbed to death. I think the decapitation would have been enough, wouldn't it? Would have been quite enough. Yeah, they didn't need to stab her. But we've heard of this so many times, and again, it's a religious belief system in different countries. And you're right. Anything that says you should and you must hurt or kill or do damage or whatever to another person, Jesus, walk away from that, run away from that. But we've heard of this before, and we know it's true in a lot of countries, that if the woman needs to go somewhere and the husband is not there, then she must have a male child from the family. He must be with her, and I can't remember if she walks so many steps behind him or ahead of him. I think it's behind, actually. It's barbaric.
Now, can I just add to that? I seen a sign on a shopping. You know when you go in the supermarket and you have your shopping lanes that you go in with your trolley?
Yeah.
Right? Now, this was apparently on a shopping lane, and I thought, holy God. It said on it, if you have pork or alcohol in your trolley, can you please use another lane, because that will insult the cashier who's taking your goods, who's doing your goods.
Really?
Now, isn't that unbelievable? It's like the story I heard, and Danielle, obviously, we'll bring Danielle in shortly, is the lady down in Southall, which is very Indian, and the Indian culture's down there, and she collected pigs. And she had the pigs in, that was a hobby. She collected all different kind of pigs, and she had them in her window. And the council came and approached her and told her to take them down because it was an insult to their religion. And
yeah. I
just find, look, see that's my property line, and that's just the way it is. That's going a bit too PC. Anyway, sorry, Steve, for jumping in there.
You're right. It is. I mean, that's taken it to a whole different level. That thing with the shopping, the shopping lane. I mean, if a woman is working in a supermarket and she's Muslim and someone is buying some pork, I'm guessing it's not going to be raw pork where she has to handle it. It's going to be in some class of packaging. And to say, I mean, the woman may have absolutely no problem just scanning it through because she's just there and she's just scanning it through. She's not being judgmental as to who buys what and what they consume. I'm sure that's not why she applied for the job. She probably applied for the job there because she needed the money. And, for someone to actually say, you need to do this because that is going to offend someone else, that's where, in my opinion, that's where the problem lies, is where somebody makes an issue of something that wasn't already there.
Yeah.
Does that make any sense? Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, we know certain religions are required to pray at certain times of the day. And that's their religion, and that's fine. We had an issue in the company that I worked in where the person was, he was in the telesales department, and he might be on the phone to a customer doing a sale. And then all of a sudden he'd have to go, I have to pray. And he'd put down the phone and go off and have to pray. And, at the end of the day, he's there to do a job. and maybe that was the wrong job for him. Maybe his job, maybe he needed a job that suited his kind of praying time, that worked around his praying time, because telesales would not be the job for that.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Yeah, but look, anyway, we're not going to change the world on this tonight. But what else we got? We have, speaking of news that is very kind of hard to believe, Tony Blair is seemingly to receive a peerage in the new year, honours list for services to world peace. Yes, for services to world peace. It's been announced, and we think that's like giving Jimmy Savile an award for services to children's welfare. It doesn't make sense. Anyone who's kind of followed the history of Tony Blair since he was Prime Minister of the United Kingdom knows that his hands there's a lot of blood in those hands, a lot of blood, and although he thinks he's done a great job, and so do other people, there is a lot of evidence to point in a different direction to show that Tony Blair was responsible for a lot of war crimes, and he still hasn't been held accountable for those crimes. So again, we can get all this information, on this proof, and we can present it in such a way that the people and the powers that be will just dismiss it anyway, and Tony is getting his award. So there we go. I mean, life just goes on, and it just seems that the worse you are as a politician, the higher up that food chain you get. The more bad things you do, the better you are perceived by your peers. Exactly.
It's pretty bad. Just the last thing on the list there before we go to Alan and Steve's rig. Just out of curiosity, I was just wondering if the listeners to OYM, if there's any other Irish radio shows apart from People's Internet Radio that you have come across or listened to, can you let us know? Because we'd like to know if there's more Irish radio shows out there doing what we're doing, trying to get the information out there and having guests on. Because so far there seems to be very few. And out of curiosity, we're just interested to find out, that's all. So if you know of any other Irish radio stations like yourselves that are doing what we're doing, just drop us an email and let us know, will you? And we'd be interested in maybe hooking up with them and seeing what they're doing, and just promoting things and getting the word out there. But Steve, how's your week apart from your flu and your illnesses and everything else?
Apart from the flu and the illnesses and the temperatures and the sick children, apart from that, it's been a blast. It's been like one long party. No, I have to say that I finished work last Friday, and coming home from work last Friday is when I felt ill, and I still feel that way today. We've all had temperatures up and down. The kids have been sick. We've had a little bit of vomiting as well, and we're just keeping it well contained. We don't want to get out into the wild. Not that we're the only ones with this dose. It is doing the rounds, according to our local GP, who said that people who are coming down with it, it's taking them about 9 days before they're kind of feeling anyway normal. And I have to say, today would be day 9 for me, and my taste buds haven't arrived back yet. They seem to have gone off on holiday somewhere, so I'm still not kind of tasting my food. Just we're eating food for the sake of, and it's just a not nice dose of the flu. Not sure again if it's just a regular dose of the flu, or if it's something that's been bioengineered. Has it been falling from the sky? Because God knows the chemtrailers haven't taken a break for Christmas. We did notice a couple there on a few days during this last week. No, it would have been this week actually, yeah. And they're still spraying. Didn't notice any spraying on Christmas Day, but obviously I'm sure if they could have got out there, they would have. What else? Nothing really much, Alan, I have to say. It's just been kind of keeping the head down. Haven't been on the computer at all, and it's just kind of. I won't even say overeating and over drinking, because it's not. We haven't been doing that at all. Haven't had a drink at all over Christmas. I'm beginning to explore what it's like to be teetotal, and it's not that bad. Anyway, look, I won't rabbit on. How was your week?
Yeah, not too bad. Like yourself, quite quiet Christmas. relatives. We had my family member come over from the UK and did the normal Christmassy thing. But that's it, just normal, and just avoided the flu, which we're happy to say, ducking and diving. But yeah, before we bring Danielle on, I'd just like to say I met up with one of the listeners, Adam, who's a long-time listener and supporter of OYM, and Adam gifted us a Q device. And the Q device, and a donation as well to OEM, much appreciated, Adam. But the Q device is like cache technology. It's similar to the MagGrav. If people know what the MagGrav, we mentioned this before on the show, and the whole idea is you plug it into your mains of your household, and it nano coats the cabling in your system using plasma technology. And over a period of time, maybe about 2 or 3 months, you'll see your energy bill come down because of the nano coating taking place. And a chap called James built this over in Germany, where Adam is actually located. And what we're going to do is when Steve is on firing on all cylinders and he's feeling okay, we're going to organise what we're going to do with the Q device, either my house or Steve's house, and we're going to plug it in and we're going to monitor usage on electricity and see over a period of time if that does indeed come down, bring down the power. Now, we've heard all different things about nano coating being carcinogenic, and it doesn't work and all this kind of stuff. Well, proof is in the pudding, as we always say. So, and we'll probably do a video on it as well and put it up there, show you the video. We did post up the picture and we sent out an email to our news subscribers on the website and on the Facebook page. You can actually see a picture of the Q device. We put it up there so you can have a look at it. And so we'll see what happens. We'll give it a test and see what happens. And if it does the job, then great. If it doesn't, then, you know, we're no better off, and we'll keep you updated on that. As I say, we do a video. So that's the plan of attack. But okay, without further ado, we're going to get our guest on. Now, Steve's going to give us a quick bio of Danielle before we give her a shout.
Okay, Danielle calls herself the hippie terrorist and has produced a number of YouTube videos highlighting and exposing people in the media regarding issues related to corruption, paedophilia and crimes against the people, etc. Danielle is a mother, writer, broadcaster and a voice for those oppressed for those opposed to the criminal elite and paedophile promoting groups within society.
Good evening, Danielle. How are you doing?
I'm good, Alan. How are you?
Not too bad. Happy New Year to you. How was things for you over Christmas?
It was very, very quiet here. The children were away over Christmas, so I just had one of my friends over on Christmas Day and then a few people over on Boxing Day, and then I've spent pretty much the last week at home on my own. So it's been really quiet. I've had a nice kind of period of being able to wind down from a completely chaotic year, so it's been good.
Excellent, excellent. Well, thanks a lot for coming on. We did do a show just before Christmas, just to let people know, bit of promo that myself and Danielle did off the record show on PIO, or People's Internet Radio, rather than OYM, regarding the psychology of relationships and being single. And we've got very good positive feedback on that show, and we just generalised certain things in psychology and body language and all that kind of stuff. So if that's something that you're into and you're interested in, if you're single or in a relationship and about energy and love, pop over to the Open Your Mind YouTube channel and you'll actually find it on there. And you never know, there could be a part 2 in the can. But okay, Danielle, so the idea of the show tonight will be to basically just talk about what happened over 2016 and what's planned, or what you think might be happening in 2017. And I know you're kind of getting more into the tarot cards and doing readings, and you're getting involved with that with people. So generally, before we do that, do you have any comments on any of the information that we read out earlier? Any of them things that you could be familiar with or you've heard through the grapevine?
Yeah, I laughed so hard. It's lucky my microphone was on mute. I laughed so hard when you said about Tony Blair. It's just, you couldn't make it up. And as people who've kind of, you know, we've all become consciously aware of the system at one stage or another, to us it's hilarious in how terrifying it is, really, that they just have no shame in how far they'll go. And And people, even the general public who aren't really that kind of aware of the system, will still be shocked by this. Most people will be shocked by this. It's just so blatant, isn't it? It's like your partner having an affair in front of your face, and you just kind of sitting there going, "Oh, okay," you know?
Yeah.
It's that level of brazenness that these people have.
Well, it's like this award system where Obama was given the Nobel Peace Prize.
Peace Prize.
And he's blown the crap out of people over in the Middle East.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, again, the Saudi Arabia given a humanitarian status on the UN. And you think, hang on, you're the country that chop people's heads off if they look in the wrong direction. And you're going in and representing humanitarianism for you know, and countries that are actually, you know, doing things against their own people. And I think you're, you know, talk about the kettle calling the pot calling the kettle black, you know?
Do you know, I think they've just reached a stage where they just have, they're doing this so brazenly just to laugh. Because they can, because we've reached a stage where no matter what these people do, we allow it. We're to blame for this, really. Society is to blame because we allow it. You know, they only do it because we let them get away with it.
Yeah. Well, the system is upside down, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's inverted completely. And for even those of us who are aware feel quite disempowered. And you know, we talk about it and we can discuss the wrongs of it. But realistically, most of us feel like because of the rest of humanity aren't awake to this, there's nothing we can really do. And even those of us who are awake to this, there's so much in the way of different opinions on how it would be dealt with. How do, you know, it's trying to organise people to make any kind of change is incredibly difficult. And I've kind of reached a stage where I think, you know, we're kind of stuck with it, because how do we, as a society, confront this in reality? How would it be dealt with?
Well, I think change is inevitable, and I do believe that there are people in the background making changes, because a lot of things, we'll talk about 2016 for now. A lot of things that the elites wanted to do last year didn't happen. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, and they didn't happen for a reason, because I'm pretty sure there's people in certain positions that made sure they didn't happen. And things that were not supposed to happen have happened, like Trump winning the election. That wasn't supposed to happen. Now,
see, I have a completely different view of the whole Trump situation. I do believe it was supposed to happen. You know, these people are so far advanced. Their plans are so intricately developed over many, many years. And to me, when I look at the situation with Trump, most people have become aware that the system isn't really run by politicians. In actual fact, it's run by corporations and banksters and whatever. So realistically, what would be the most obvious move? Everybody's complaining that the system is really run by corporations. So what do? They put a corporate elite in fake power. It's just kind of like, well, you guys know, so there you go. Here it is. To me, it was absolutely intentional. That's just how I see it. I just do not believe that they put a foot wrong in that sense. I don't believe they mess up, if that makes sense. They have too many backup plans in order, you know, to be able to mess up.
Well, I'm not saying, I totally agree with you. They plan things out. But here's my take on it, right? From a corporate world point of view, Trump is a corporate guy. He's not a politician. And there's things that Trump has done that I would agree with. If you're in the corporate world, you would do that. Where a politician would be full of it, but they wouldn't do it. Like if Hillary got in, there would have been definitely World War III, without a shadow of a doubt. Yeah. But Trump has turned around and he's ignoring the mainstream media. He's using Twitter, and he's doing things like he's saying to Putin, "Hey, you know, we should talk. You know, rather than fight, we should talk. Let's sort it out." Where if Hillary was in, it would have been World War III.
Yeah, there'd be bombs being dropped already, yeah.
Now, there's been talk about, obviously, the election system and the machines that were used. And Hillary, should have won. Now, I'm not saying Trump is going to be innocent. He's going to be a white lighter or anything like that. I think he's part of the game. But I do think he's now he's kind of saying, right, I wasn't supposed to be here. I am now here, and I have these people here telling me to do the good thing, and these people here telling me to do the bad thing. So I think he's stuck between a rock and a hard place, and I think he's to make a decision as to what way he's going to need to play it.
Mm. It's definitely going to be interesting to watch how this plays out. When you look at the people he's employing at the moment, it's just that in itself is terrifying. To be fair, I think as society, we're damned if we do and we're damned if we don't. I don't think we are in a position where there's a good option. It's frying pan and fire, I guess, isn't it? And either way, humanity doesn't win.
Yeah, well, see, you're right there. He has brought in the neocons. And you would say, to me, I would say I'd be concerned about that. But again, maybe he's doing the whole adage of, have your friends close, but have your enemies closer. Because if your enemies are close and then they muck up, he can kind of not only sack them, but put it in the mainstream saying, this is what this chap did. So maybe he, is some kind of reverse psychology going on, that he's using his corporate background and management. Because when you're in the corporate world, there's a lot of backstabbing. Yeah. And it's better for you to have somebody who's like that closer to you so you can watch them, rather than off in the background where you can't watch them. Because if you can watch them and you can keep an eye on what's going on, when they go and muck up, you can get rid of them and you can deal with it. So maybe that's what he's doing. Now, as I say, I'm not saying that I'm a fan of Trump. We'll just have to see what happens. Now, we have till the 20th of January to see. That's when he's going to be sworn in. Maybe Obama will start playing. They said the 15th of January, Obama's going to try and pull off something where it's going to affect the presidency and the inauguration. So we're just going to have to see from there. But moving away from that for a minute, what's your take on 2016? And Steve, by all means, jump in there. I know you're probably coughing and stuff, probably afraid to come in, but jump in when you need to jump in, Steve.
Yeah, well, if I just say very quickly, in relation to Donald Trump, it's amazing. Like, a lot of people, you have your perception as to, what he is, who he is, and how we got in there. Kind of, was it lastminute.com? Was it preordained? Danielle has a different ideal as well, and it's just amazing how many people you actually speak with. A lot of people kind of. No two people have the same idea. A lot of people think he was a loose cannon. Yes, he wasn't meant to get in. Hillary was supposed to get in there, but then he threw it all up in the air when he started saying, "Oh yeah, the whole thing is rigged," and then they had to kind of let him get in. And it's amazing because no one seems to know. We don't know. I think just in relation to that kind of fiasco there, the whole alternative media has kind of been not so much turned on its head, but it's kind of, it's looking at it now kind of from maybe rose-tinted glasses, where we don't know what the game plan is. Before the result of the election came out, a lot of people like us, we kind of looked around, we know what's going to happen. This is what's going to happen. And we had what we thought was the game plan that the elites were going to use. But then when it came to, the results, a lot of people kind of going, I wasn't expecting that at all. And with that in mind, that's something now that has kind of happened in the tail end of 2016. So now you have to ask yourself, going forward into 2017, that there's obviously a lot of other things that we think is or are going to happen or take place in 2017. But now we can't be too complacent. I think we really have to watch our back. We can't just kind of go, oh yeah, we know what's going to happen. They're probably going to do this or they're probably going to do that, because now we don't know.
I absolutely agree. And I think one of the major reasons why is because as a community, in the sense of people who are aware of the system, we're monitored incredibly heavily. And with the use of Facebook and with the level of communication there is between everybody around the world who's aware of this stuff, they're aware of what we're discussing and what we're working out and what we're finding out. And they may well change their game plans with regards to what we know. Because since 2014, when the whole Cliff Richard thing kicked off, the mainstream media has followed us incredibly closely. And a lot of the stories they report on actually come from us. It's quite incredible, the level of mainstream media focus that has definitely come from what they've observed from people across the world discussing the kind of things that we discuss between us, whether it's via Facebook, Twitter, wherever. And it does make me wonder if, obviously we're aware that they data mine us on things like Facebook, and it does make me wonder if they are watching our game plan as much as we're trying to work out what theirs is. Because the more we work out, they're aware of what it's basically like they're bugging us, and we're all sitting there talking about it. So then they can quite possibly steer their plans in different directions depending on the sway of public opinion.
I think I'd put it down to the powers that be hiding in a toilet cubicle, overhearing a conversation between two people and taking notes. You know, but then again, I do find that, and maybe it's just me, but I think they're actually now on the defensive rather than the offensive. I think we have got the upper hand. I think there are more and more people waking up on all different levels. But they are waking up, and I think they have gone, because of the fake news, what's happened is the switch. It was all kind of your conspiracy theorists. Now that's a badge of honour. We've moved away from that, and now it's all the fake news, and they're trying to nail people down on the fake news. I mean, talk about, you know, the pot calling the kettle black.
It's
again,
isn't it? Yeah.
You know, you watch the mainstream media, and you, fake. And it's, people need to kind of, you know, if they do watch it, they need to ask themselves, well, is that true, or is that, because the technology that they can use, I mean, let's put it this way. I went to see Rogue One over the Christmas, with the family. They wanted to see it, so I said, I'll pop along. And in the Rogue One movie, they used the technology where they had a person who was dead, an actor who was dead. He was there, and it was like he was a live actor acting out. I forget the chap's name.
Is Rogue One the Star Wars film? Is it the new Star Wars
That's
film?
right, exactly. Right. And they had, at the end of the movie, Carrie Fisher as she was when she was 19.
Wow.
Right? And obviously what happened was, Walt Disney had insured, because she was booked to do 3 movies. And obviously now that she's dead, she can't do it. And they took insurance out just in case she couldn't. And now they've claimed the insurance. It's something like 41 million, because that was the guarantee, you know, that if she didn't do the 3 movies because of her health, they'd be able to claim on insurance. They've now got 41 million. But now what's happened is that all the actors who are out there have seen the movie, seen what they can do, and they're all running to take copyright issues and saying, no, you can't use my image, you can't use my, you know, this, that and the other, because, and I heard it was Leanne McAdoo from InfoWars. She said that apparently in China they have an AI robot touring the country and all the kids love it. So imagine if they put together a robotic AI boy band. You don't need humans anymore. And maybe that's where we're going, this transhumanism that's taken place.
It is really quite worrying. It is terrifying. You know, a friend of mine came over Christmas and brought with them the virtual reality headset thing. And we all gave it a go. And I have to be honest, it was great fun. But we all talked about how terrifying it is that this is now readily available in our homes. And you know, it was expensive, but nowhere near as expensive. You know, it's not out of reach for most people. And the experience of it, there was one simulation where I was on a roller coaster, and it looks and feels incredibly real. And you can turn around and actually see what's behind you. Wow. It's insane. It is absolutely insane. And it's actually quite frightening. You can sit I sat in a hut in Tibet with a family completely sat around me, and they were all as real as I can see myself now. That's how real it looked.
That's incredible.
And this is what we're heading towards. This is going to be our normality, and I find it quite terrifying, if I'm honest.
Yeah, well, I totally agree. There was a program, and actually not a program, a movie that came out there, and it was about there was no natural kids being born for a period of 18 years, and this girl got pregnant, and they had to protect this girl. Because the whole idea of population control affecting, men and women's ways of being able to reproduce, and the cost of IVF and all that kind of stuff. So it doesn't surprise me that all this is kind of part and parcel of the big game. Maybe maybe there is this move on. But one of the things that I was actually talking to Thomas earlier about, and something that I've come across every now and again, reading articles about the real percentage. I mean, if we really want to drill down to how many natural human beings are on the planet versus synthetic avatars or androids.
Well, it does make you wonder, doesn't it? Because how would you even know? We have no idea realistically how advanced their technology is. And we can see on news programs or whatever else, they'll show us these robots that are being made in Japan or wherever else. That's just what they show us. We have absolutely no idea how advanced these people are.
I've just remembered the actor's name in Star Wars, Peter Cushing, who was who died. But they said, I was just reading an article about it, and they said they purposely made it so you actually could kind of tell that was CGI. It was very good, but if they're showing us that now on the screen, well, what do they have that they're not showing us?
Well, yeah, of course.
So it's amazing tech. But just going over again, let's just get back to 2016. A lot of stars passed over.
Yes.
During the year. Now, if you were to combine what they said about the energy changes taking place and hitting the planet, and a lot of people have been talking about this. I mean, I don't think it's on the scale that it's going to cause anything major, but people have said about the energies hitting the planet. I was just talking to Steve earlier on Skype about this Flakka drug. Steve, do you remember, you read out the details of that? Do you still have that?
No, I actually closed that page down because there was a video. The video actually started playing, so I couldn't actually have it open on the screen because it would have just come over the broadcast. But from what I did see very quickly in relation to that Flakka, yeah, it's turning people into zombies. That's it in a nutshell. It's zombifying people, and it gave a list of some of the ingredients that were in it. It's known as the bath. I think it's the bath salts drug or something like that. But yeah, I mean, I hadn't actually heard of it till you mentioned it to me, and then I just looked it up very quickly, and it's going to be like, it'll be like everything else. We all know exactly where this is going. It's not some kid in his back bedroom, and he's after getting a couple of ingredients, following some crappy read on the internet, and he's not mass producing this. This is getting done, and we all know that whenever you have a drug problem. And you have the people who are out fighting against drugs and the war on drugs, that they never ever win. They never win the war on drugs. It's not because the guy in his back bedroom is 2 steps ahead of the law. No, it's because the people who are allegedly fighting against it, in my opinion, are the ones who are supplying it in the first place. So it's they're never going to win it. But we obviously have people in this world who are they're kids. Maybe some of them are starting to realise that they're having an awakening. Who knows? But they're being more self-aware, more aware of what's going on in the world. And maybe some of them are not sitting down watching the TV, watching the football, watching the soap operas. Maybe there's a lot of kids out there who are standing up at a very young age and kind of going, hang on a second, this world is not right. It's not just. And maybe they're starting to do their own research, and they're finding all these things that are wrong with the world. That stuff that it took me until the age of 40 odd to learn. Maybe they're starting to learn this now. So now you have Big Brother or the system who decides, right? Well, we don't. If people are starting to wake up, again, this is just my opinion, if people are starting to wake up at a younger age, we need something that's going to, shut them down. We need more drugs. We need to target more people with these drugs, and before you know it, this new synthetic blend or whatever it may be hits the streets. You hear of a few bad trips or a couple of deaths, and then you have the people who are going to go, that'll never happen to me. They only overdosed because they took too much, or they didn't know what to take, or they were doing it wrong. That won't happen to me. So then you'll hear of more of these deaths, young kids. Obviously, as has been the case for many, many years, it's always kind of the not so much the lower end of society, but the people who will be classed as the working class. I suppose we're all working class, but the lower end of the spectrum, where maybe it's not so much working class, where they can't actually get a job. I know I'm crossing and going over two different things here at the same time. But yeah, I'll just go back onto that. I'll stay with that for a second. Yeah, so you have this drug that they're mass producing. Again, it's not some guy in his back bedroom, no matter what you're told. It's a pharmaceutical company somewhere who's doing this, and they're doing it for a reason. And we all hear about the Georgia Guidestones, population control, and we kind of go, yeah, it sounds believable. And some people go, no, that's a load of BS. They'd never do anything like that. Well, have a look at all these drugs that are coming in that are killing people. Not in their ones or their twos or their tens, but in their hundreds and in their thousands. In my opinion, again, not the opinion of OYM or anyone on the good ship OYM, I believe that all this is part of a depopulation program. And when this Flakka, when this runs its course and goes away, something else will pop up in its place, and obviously it'll be targeted at the kids. It'll be the cool thing to do, and it'll just keep going on and on and on.
I was thinking, people should check out the YouTube video of people who've taken this Flakka drug, because it's like they've got not superhuman strength, but they've definitely got extra strength from taking it, and they look like they have been demonically possessed, and they do things that are just completely unbelievable. But just a word of warning on it, it's just can be graphic as well what they do, so just be careful. But there is definitely a depopulation going on. Now, there's an argument between the powers that be depopulating the world for their own needs and their own agenda. And then there's also what we've heard about the energy changes on the planet, where the energy vibration, the human frequency rising, and people can't deal with it. Now, is it the synthetic hybrid avatars who can't deal with this energy, or the people who are psychopathic who just can't deal with the energy? And maybe that they're the people who are being taken out. Or could we look on the other side? Somebody mentioned in passing that maybe there's certain key people that have faked deaths because maybe they're running to the underground bunker. I don't know. What do you think, Danielle?
There's various different theories out there, and I've seen the whole theory of they've got this island somewhere that they've all moved to and whatever. Personally, for me, as somebody who works a lot in the area of energy, obviously Steve, when he introduced me, spoke about really that's kind of what I used to do. It's not really where I work anymore. Most of my work is focused on energy, quantum reality, and this kind of thing. And what seems to be the case is when it takes an incredible amount of energy for your soul to leave your body, for you to expand back out into consciousness. And what tends to happen is when there is mass grieving, so when society grieves en masse, it expands the vibrational field, and it opens up the energy field in order for anybody who's ready to leave this reality, to leave this physical earth. It expands the energy stream and allows lots and lots of people to go at once. So while there's been a huge, I think it's something like 385 celebrity deaths this year.
Wow.
It's been huge.
Yeah, massive.
But I would be really interested to see the death rate in general in society, to see if it has risen sharply this year. Because when there's that mass expansion, lots and lots of people tend to go at one time. So that's usually why you get a cluster of 2 or 3, 4 famous people in the space of a week or two, because that energy expansion is there. And they're able to pass over at the same time. And I think obviously a lot of them this year have been so shocking because they've been such enormous celebrities, you know, the likes of George Michael, David Bowie, Prince, you know, people like this. It's been really shocking, and it's just been one after the other. It's been relentless this year, just completely relentless. I'm
just curious as to what their, because we found out what a lot of their plans were for 2016 and what they wanted to do and the things that they were stopped doing and things that have been exposed. And I'm just curious in my own mind saying, well, what else can they do in 2017? Because there was a hell of a lot of stuff going on in 2016.
It was crazy. I mean, most people as well have had an incredibly difficult year on a personal level. There's very few people that I've seen over the last couple of days say, I had a great year. Most people said, I have had a horrific year. And I think there was definitely Neil earlier, my friend Neil, he does a lot in form of numerology and geometry with regards to how the elite operate using numbers. And he said that this year, last year, obviously now, was the year of 666. And they escalated their attempts to cause mass chaos. And they were supposed to implement a lot of stuff last year. And it just simply didn't happen.
Yeah.
But there's been a huge awakening. The energies on the planet have started to shift into the more feminine energies that are coming through. And people are becoming more and more aware. And I don't know if this makes sense to you, but, you know, we always get to the end of the year and say, wow, this year flew by. Last year was a blink of an eye for me. It literally seems like it happened in a moment. And it's definitely time, as you know, this man-made construct that we have has definitely been speeding up. And that means that the energy is expanding in a positive sense. The more positive the energy, the faster things move. So there's definitely a much more conscious awakening going on within society. And these big energy waves that you were speaking of earlier, they're going to be incredibly positive. And actually I keep saying next year, it's this year now.
This year.
Is going to be a much, much more positive situation. And if there's any hope that we have of beginning to take this system down, this is going to be the year it's going to really start.
Well, funny enough, we had Laura Eisenhower on the show a few years ago. I think it was we had her on in 2013. And she said to us that there will be a 5-year period between 2013 and 2017, which will be the hardest in dealing with what's going on. And after that, it should start to get easier. Now, we are in 2017 now. Hopefully that we're on the downhill. You know, we climbed the hill and we're on the way down. But do you believe, and there's a lot of talk about this now, people kind of agreeing to it, saying that we are in a holographic construct at the moment.
Yeah.
A program, a simulated program.
Yes, absolutely. It's becoming more and more obvious. I mean, even the mainstream science, scientists are beginning to discuss this publicly now. That our planet, our existence, our humanity is a simulation. It is holographic. We aren't technically flesh and blood. We are energy. We're spirit, and this is just a simulation. And the idea of it is to get through the game. Really, that's kind of where it's at, which is how law of attraction, manifestation, and what have you works, because we aren't real as such, and that seems ridiculous to say because everything around you is solid. We're solid, but we're not. We are just this kind of program, almost this simulated program. By the looks of things, that's how it really is. I mean, David Icke has been speaking about it for years, but it's becoming more obvious that seems to be what it is. But the other, just going back to the celebrity deaths, one of the other things that's been discussed, that I've seen discussed, is that it's quite possible that many of these creative people were taken down because of the level of vibration. They raised the vibration on the planet so much through their work that it's like the system took them out in order to kind of stop this huge creative expansion of energy. You know?
Yeah.
Because now, artists now, musicians now, are all, it's all just manufactured nonsense. Mostly it's manufactured nonsense. So all of these people like Prince, like George Michael, like David Bowie, these people were true creative genius artists. And to remove people like this and just have this manufactured nonsense in place doesn't have the same impact on the expansion of energy that these creative, true genius, creative people would have had.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And there's nobody replacing these people.
No.
I don't know of anybody new on the circuit that you would class in the same league as Bowie or Prince.
No, this is something we discussed on Boxing Day, actually, or Christmas Day, just after we heard the news of George Michael. And we were saying there isn't really anybody who, the only person really who would have the level of worldwide fame that any of those artists would have had would be someone like Beyonce. And most of us are all fully aware of what the truth is behind the Beyoncés of this world.
Yeah.
So no, there isn't anybody like that anymore. I think that creative genius kind of ended with the likes of Prince and David Bowie and, those various other artists who died last year.
Yeah, and we just have to kind of keep an eye on what's going on. Now, I will say that I do feel that they are actually on the offensive, on the defense rather than the offense, because of certain things that happen. And I think if you were to take the 5 years, the 2013 to 2017, and we've gone through, 13, 14, 15, 16, I would kind of say, looking back at them years, that 16 was probably the hardest so far. I mean, 17 could be hard, but I reckon out of them 4 years, and I'll just get Steve's take on it as well, but I think because of everything that went on, I mean, especially on a local level here over in Ireland with the protests and the government and everything else, things that went on, I'd say 16 was definitely, we were climbing the hill there. Steve, what's your take on it?
I would probably agree to a point, yeah. There was a lot that did happen over here in 2016, excuse me, in relation to water protests, the government, and so on and so forth. There was a lot. But then again, if you were to, as Danielle said, like 2016, it appeared to go by in the blink of an eye. It was more like a moment in time than a year in time. You go back to 2015. I mean, there's a lot we could pick out of 2015 as well. We could go back to 2008, and there was a lot that happened in 2008. But again, I think that everything that does happen, they're just little moments in time on a timeline. And I think you could have a timeline from 2000 to 2017, and you could pick out little events along the timeline. I don't think 2016 was the pinnacle. I think there's been a lot happening, and again, when it's only like there are dots on the timeline, if you want, and then when you look at all the dots and you start joining the dots is when you start to see the bigger picture, which unfortunately for a lot of people, they can't seem to do that. A lot of people will look at 2016 and go, 2016 it was a bad year, a lot of bad things happened, and there was a lot of not nice things, but that's how people will perceive it. They look at it as a year. And I think we need to perceive it more as a timeline than a year. That, again, this is just the ramblings of someone dosed up on paracetamol. But, if
not
you
Flakka.
No, not Flakka. I have some there in case I need it, but not yet. I'll have to put my Flakka jacket on. But you know where I'm coming from. I mean, if you, again, if you look at 2017 as a couple of dots, and you join those dots, you don't really see too much. But you look at a timeline of, let's say, the last 10 years, the last 15 years, the last 20 years, and you get all those dots and you start to join all the dots from year to year to year to year, then I think you do see a bigger picture emerging. And it's only when you see that bigger picture is when you see, I think, the whole control system, the construct that is the control system, that starts to come into view. But if you just look at it on a year-to-year basis, I don't think you really begin to see the bigger picture. You don't see our masters as such. But you look at the whole thing on the timeline, I think the picture actually jumps out off the page.
I think you're absolutely right, and it would kind of be. It's because we have this perception, this man-made construct of years, and an end of each thing. And most people will say, "Oh, I'm so glad last year's over. This year's going to be great." And it's like, well, all you did was go to bed last night. You've just woken up in another day. It's no different. But it's kind of like, it's like reading a book, reading each chapter, and then not establishing that the whole story forms all of those chapters. All of those chapters form the whole story. But it would be like reading each chapter and not working out that the whole story comes from all of those chapters put together. And people aren't seeing that. They're just seeing it as each year as a chapter and not working out that there's a huge unfolding of everything all at once.
How can you put it so... You just put it together so well. Sorry, I'm just saying, Danielle, you just kind of summed up exactly what I'm trying to say. I'm glad to hear it from a woman's perspective, because obviously I wasn't doing it justice. But yeah, that's exactly where I'm going with that one.
Yeah, and that's how it is, and this is how people need to start looking at things. We have these cut-off points, and that's why they give us these cut-off points. All of this whole year thing, this time thing, is all a construct in order for us to give away our power and not really work out what's going on. And instead of looking at the whole story, we're looking at each chapter, and we're not putting those together and realizing that there's a War and Peace novel there,
Exactly. And they like to break down the system and have a kind of organized departmentalize, sections of society, and, A, B, C, D, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it's easier to control when it's broken down into sections like that. Exactly the way they do for the likes of MK Ultra. They break down the mind, and they partition the mind with different personalities. So we have to be aware of that. But I do think that, maybe for this year, 2017, one of the ideas that we mentioned on the show, and it's something that I'd like to be able to do. I think, Steve, the two of us would like to be able to do. And people all the time say, we don't like what's going on. What can we do? Or what's the solution? Or how can we do it? And a simple solution between myself, Steve, and Thomas, when we talked about it on the show, was imagine if you have 4.5 million people in Ireland, right? So imagine if 2 million of the adults, say, because we allow for kids and stuff, 2 million adults donated €1 per month into a charity fund. Right, so that's 2 million a month. Imagine what we could do with 2 million a month. And in the UK, you've got 68 million people. So imagine if 40 million of them gave £1 a month into a charity fund. 40 million a month. How quick could we change society? I mean, we wouldn't even have to go near the government.
No,
we would just make them redundant. But trying to convince people, because everybody's on their guard, and the whole thing behind it would be the 5 things they try and do, the elites. They try and get you either through sex, drugs, politics, religion, or drink, right? Yeah. So they're the 5 things, and they will look at a person and go, how can we get that person in a way? What's their weakness? How can we get them? So if you get people who actually aren't affected by any of them, it's very hard for the elites to get at them unless they obviously set them up.
And I think there's one we're missing as well, which is consumerism.
Well,
because that's really kind of, we live in an upgrade society now. And we have become so used to upgrading everything. We upgrade each other now on a human level,
Yeah.
And I think we've reached a stage where as long as It's the kind of I'm all right, Jack attitude, you know?
Yeah.
As long as I'm all right, I don't care about anyone else.
Yeah.
And the problem we've got is because of the divide and conquer system, because of the hatred there is towards anybody who claims a state benefit, because of the hatred there is towards people who've come here from another nation, all of those things, there will be plenty of people that wouldn't want to help. They wouldn't want to give up their pound each month or whatever, you know? And the other problem that we'd have with that is that 1 in 200 people in the UK is a psychopath.
Yeah.
1 in 200 people. The problem you have with anything, the idealists of us in the world, people like you and I, who see that as a wonderful idea, it would be compromised by the likes of the 1 in 200.
Yeah.
You know, and this is the problem. Even if we got rid of all of the elites now and took back this planet for ourselves, when you are dealing with, in America, it's 1 in 100 people. And there are countless hundreds of millions of people in that country. There are literally millions upon millions of psychopaths in this world. And most of us are completely unaware of them because they don't commit crime that is detectable. But these people always want power, and there will always be an infiltration. So no matter what we do, no matter if we get rid of all of the psychopaths, there's still psychopaths being born every single day of the week. So we're kind of, how do we eradicate that? You'd have to eradicate that from society in order for any of these solutions to work. Because when you're dealing with something like that, like everybody putting money into a pot, there's always going to be people who want to compromise that.
Well, again, the whole idea of trying to stop that from happening is where, you know, I mean, you can put certain things in place regarding constitutions and agreements, but I kind of, it's for me, it's quite straightforward. Are you doing it for the benefit of your fellow man, or are you doing it for your own self-interests?
Yeah.
Right? So whatever idea is put forward, if that idea is for the benefit, either short-term or long-term, for the interest of the few, then it's a no.
Absolutely.
And so when everything's transparent and put out in the open, regarding whether you have psychopaths, now obviously you'd have to do your vetting. Now, the reason why I say that is because we talked about energy on the show that we did about givers and takers, and about takers using less energy. And you'll probably find a lot of psychopaths are takers.
Yes.
They don't like using energy. So the people that we would approach are people that we know are givers because they're doing it, which reduces the risk of you getting a psychopath involved in your group. And then what you do is you'd be fully transparent, and you get certain, the idea was to, I'm going to just go on the sidetracking a bit, but to get about 6 or 7 people in a core group from different groups, and get them together who are doing stuff. You want doers. You don't want supervisors. The world is full of supervisors. They tell you what to do, but I can't really do it myself. But you go ahead and do it. No. If you're going to suggest it, you should be able to do it. So you get your givers, get them involved, have a constitution, and any idea that comes in or suggestion where it's going to go, all has to be agreed to. So, and if they're givers, there's a good chance that you'll have more of an understanding between each other because they're givers. Because they won't mind. It's the psychopaths and the takers will be the ones going, I'm not really happy about that. No. So now that's the kind of theory. How it works practically, I don't know. But I do think that's the simple solution. And all people have to do, and here's the beauty of it, folks, this is all you have to do. Nobody has to get involved. Nobody's asked to go on a protest march. Nobody's asked to dig deeper in your pockets. Nobody's asked to do anything else other than fill out a direct debit mandate, give it to your bank and say, transfer €1 per month into this bank account. And that's all they have to do. So it doesn't even take much energy to do that.
And this is the thing. The solutions to this really are very, very simple.
They are.
It is so straightforward. I mean, all it would take is for every person in this country to just go, I'm not going to pay my tax anymore. If everybody at the same time said, I'm not going to pay tax anymore. I'm not going to pay council tax. I'm not going to pay the energy companies. If everyone just downed tools for a few days, the system would be over.
Well,
it would just be over.
But that wouldn't happen. It wouldn't.
No.
I can't.
And this is the problem. It's such a simple way to fix things, but it just won't happen. Because most people are unaware that it needs to happen.
Yeah. Now, I know more and more people are doing it, but that's going to take so much time. The idea of the €1 or the £1 sterling, basically what it is, you're making the government redundant. You're going, well, look, you carry on doing what you're doing, but this is what we're going to do.
Yeah,
and
we don't need you.
We don't need you. And then at the end of the day, people will turn around and go, God, why do we need them? Who are them people? We don't need these people who are there, sucking, the taxes off us and taking our freedoms away. Who are they? They're supposed to be people's representatives and don't even go near democracy. I had this argument the other day. Well, I won't argue, to debate with somebody. And he said, but we have democracy. And I said, was the Lisbon Treaty in Ireland a democracy when they ignored their no vote? And they said, oh no, we're going to ask you again. And then the person went quiet because then she realised, yeah, actually, that's right. We don't have democracy because otherwise we would have stuck with the no vote. But I want to get Steve's point of view on the euro because we have talked about this. Steve.
On the euro?
The euro idea of, €1 a month to...
yeah, well, honestly, I'm being shooting from the hip here and I'm being completely honest. I think it would work and I also think it wouldn't work. Why do I think it would work? Because it seems like the right thing to do. It seems like an honest, fair approach to solving a problem that we can all agree exists. Why do I think it wouldn't work? Well, because you go out there walk up the high street on any given day, and you have cancer research. You have, 101 different charities, all thinking that their charity is better than yours, and everyone is trying to raise money for what they believe is the right thing to do. Now, obviously, if we had an absolutely fair system, we wouldn't need to do this because the money would always be there for research and to solve all these problems. But I think if we were to do this, we would probably have to jump through a lot of tape. We would probably end up like a lot of the other people, finding it difficult to raise money, finding that, people aren't filling out direct debit mandates because, look, everybody that you go to, and I've been approached by people on the street as well, and people have called to the door and they're trying to raise money to save this, save that, and research the other. And a lot of them, they don't even take it. You can say, well, come here, look, I'll give you a £5. And they say, no, we're not allowed to take donations. We cannot take money. However, if you give us your bank details and fill out a direct debit, and that's where a lot of people kind of go, no, I want to just throw you a £5 and walk away, because if I throw you a £5, I feel like I've done something. But you want me to give on an ongoing basis. A lot of people they're not happy to do that, to do that. And I think we would probably have our work cut out there. Although I think it is a good idea, and to think that we could have something like 200 million euro, or sorry, it was €1 per month for 2 million people. Yeah, 2 million euro a month to do good. Well, that's great if we could do it. But then again, you have the whole the government, the hierarchical system. Never mind the red tape and all the paperwork that would have to be filled out. Well, you would have, let's say, the core group, and we're all kind of going a certain direction. And then what if someone wasn't happy and someone says, well, I'm not happy about this. And then we have infighting, and before we know it, the values that we set out to uphold and the goals that we had are now, instead of being 6 months away, it's now a year away. Why? Because some people aren't happy and they want more scrutiny. They want more, And
can I address them issues?
Of course, yeah, absolutely.
Right, okay. Issue number one, about all the other charities. as a business person, if you were to worry about your competition, you'd never start a business. So you never worry about your competition. You do your value add, and you do what you do in your business to get the business that's needed. So that will solve that problem. Okay, so you just have to kind of go with it, right? Secondly, from a project management point of view, people don't like change. So as somebody who's done project management and implemented changes, what you do is you get the buy-in, and the whole idea is to get an individual from each group who you want to be involved in it, and they will actually do the sales pitch back to their group and their team. Okay, so, and that works wonders. That's proven because I've done it in the past. And that's why you get individual groups in. To get them involved, because if they're involved, they have members, and their members will pass the word around, and then it goes from there. As opposed to people disagreeing with things, that's why you have a constitution. When you get together and you decide this, you put the constitution together, and once it's in the constitution, everybody agrees to what's in the constitution, and everybody signs it, then that solves that problem out. Now, I'm not saying it solves everything, but it solves the main issues. Right, because if everybody agrees that, okay, what we're going to do, well, our core business, or what we're going to be focusing on, is helping the homeless and helping people who are going through evictions. If they're the core bits and everybody agrees and that's the core part of it, then happy days. As to the semantics after that, they can be sorted. They're the little things. The direct debit thing, I totally agree with you, Steve. You know, they knock on the door and you go, oh well, I can't take a fiver, I can't take money, but if you give your details, we fill it out. No, I disagree with that fact. But you can give the people a direct debit form and go, here's a blank form, just fill that out and give it to your bank. You don't have to give it to us because it's personal details. You just take it to your bank next time you're in the bank, or do it online. And then it's €1, and then you can stop that direct debit anytime you want. But it's only €1. People wouldn't really miss. There's a lot of people wouldn't miss €1 a month from the bank account. But they can change it. We wouldn't be taking personal details. Let them sort it out. Because again, they control the data and it's personal information, and you don't want their personal information. But when they realise what the €1 was for, we're not saving tigers, we're not sending money over to the Sudan and stuff like that. We're trying to help our own people here in Ireland who are homeless and who are going through really bad eviction processes that the courts are doing, right? So there's a lot of potential in that idea. Yes, it has to be tweaked, and as you know, and I do agree to a certain extent with Danielle. I know people are materialistic and consumerism and all that, but we talked about this on the show that we did, Danielle, and you've had it, I've had it, you know, being in a position where you've had all the tools and had all the toys, but you weren't really happy at the end of the day. So it's money, it's not all of it, money doesn't bring you happiness. You know, it's the you know, energy, love, and the people you're around.
But you know, I suppose the most fundamental thing for me is that I just can't help but feel that people don't care. If people cared and wanted to help, there wouldn't be any homeless people on the streets. They wouldn't be walked past. There wouldn't be food banks. I saw a video a few days ago of a food bank in Dublin, and there were 3,000 people queuing for food parcels at just this one food bank in Dublin. It just floored me. And I saw some of the comments, and some of the comments were people saying how wonderful it was that there was help for these people. The majority of people placed the blame directly at the door of the Irish government, which surprised me a little bit that people were that aware. And then there were others who couldn't help but just immediately assume that it was people who didn't really need help, who were just there for something for nothing.
Yeah, and you will get that.
Astounded me. Because I thought, my God, rather than look at the fact that there are 3,000 people at just that one food bank who desperately needed help, immediately people will see the dark side of it and assume that these people are scroungers. It just floored me that that's people's attitude.
Well, it is, and unfortunately, there are people out there. When I went down to the You're Not Alone charity in Dublin, and I was down there helping and interviewing the people, and they said that with all the amount of homeless people turn up to get fed and get some clothes that are there was a handful of Eastern European people going over, taking the clothes and going around the corner and popping them into a shop to sell them. So you're always going to get your apples in the barrel, the bad apples in the barrel. But look, if we're to judge everything on that, nobody would do anything. What you do is you have to put in certain procedures in place to reduce the chance of things like that happening. And I think that is definitely a possibility with the €1 idea, because every idea that's been brought in to work with, whether it's the homeless charities or the evictions, would be assessed by the group and checked out. So you'd have to have your checks in place to do that. But as they say, you judge society by the way they treat the most vulnerable in society, and judging by our society and our government, I mean, they're not doing a good job, and the UK government is the same. That we shouldn't have homeless people.
No, there's absolutely no excuse for homelessness on this planet in any way, shape or form. There's no need for it. It's completely unacceptable in this day and age.
And I know, Steve, you made this comment there on the chat room saying what people would say is that's why we pay our taxes. But they might say that, but that's not why they pay the taxes. A lot of the taxes going to pay the interest on the money that we borrowed from Europe. And obviously the likes of Irish Water and all the salaries that the politicians in the Dáil are creaming off the Irish people, and all the expense accounts, and the Dáil bar going up to, I think, the amount of money they spent in the Dáil bar drinking. Now, I find that, I don't know about you, Danielle, but over here in Ireland, the Irish government have a Dáil, they have a bar in the government building. Now,
yes, same here in the Houses of Parliament. Yeah.
Now, if I had a bar in the job I was in, I think that would cause a major problem with...
Is yours taxpayer funded? Because ours is.
Yeah, of course it is, yeah.
Yeah, but you're not allowed to go in there as a taxpayer.
No, of course not. I mean, that's, they work for us, but we can't go into the building.
Absolutely.
No, I mean, again, we go back to the whole farcical thing of government and what it is, and they're not doing what they're supposed to do, so we have to make them irrelevant.
Yeah,
we have to make them redundant, and just the people have to get together and allowing for the checks and balances and everything else in society, allowing for the psychos and stuff like that. I do think it's possible and it can be done, but we just need the backing of the people to do it.
Yeah.
And say, right, okay.
It's a way of making people get up. It's a way of it's finding a way of making people care enough that this is what's really going on. And I think without people being aware of what's going on, they just cannot appreciate how dangerous this situation is. But it's so hard, because if people don't care about the thousands of people sleeping rough on the streets tonight, what are they ever going to care about? When are they ever going to care? You know, we have become so detached from one another as a society. We just have completely removed ourselves from each other. Most of us don't even know our neighbours anymore. Yeah. You know, and there's a lack of trust, there's a lack of care, a lack of empathy, all of that. And most people are so insular in their world now with regards to making sure that they're okay, because most people are terrified that they're going to lose their own roof over their head. You know, they're being forced to work longer and longer and longer hours. So by the time they get home, the last thing they want to do is a charitable act.
Yeah. And I totally agree. I think we're being desensitized with everything that's out there. People are just desensitized, and as you get, just there's the level of I'm okay, Jack. And one of the guests that we had on years ago called Bob Chapman, and we said, Bob, when will people wake up? He said, when they can't put food in their children's mouth. But he said, then it'll be just too late.
Exactly. And he's exactly right.
Steve, do you want to jump in?
Well, what can I say? Yes, it's only when people reach that level where they can't afford to feed themselves or their family, and they're looking at a screaming child, knowing that they have nothing to give that child. That's when a lot of people will wake up. And in relation to society, just last night, so people don't have to remember too far back, but how many people, either listening to the live show or listening to the podcast, when the bells struck on the 31st of December and we entered into the 1st of January 2017, how many people stayed there in the comfort of their sitting room or the comfort of the pub that they were sitting in and just kept their eyes on the TV screen? I'm guessing quite a lot of people. What seems to be gone, and Danielle is spot on when she said this, I remember, and I'm sure you do too, Alan, and probably Danielle, when we were children of a young age, and it was midnight on the 31st, the houses emptied, everybody took to the streets. Yeah. You met your neighbour, you shook hands with your neighbour, you conversed with your neighbour, and it wasn't a strange thing to do, because these are the people who you'd been, the people that you meet on your street, as they say in Sesame Street. These are the people who you spoke to all year. It wasn't just on one night, and even here last night, the bell struck, I looked out into the street, curious to see how many people were actually going to go out, because a lot of the neighbours where I live, they just keep themselves to themselves. And I have to say, not one person left their home. And I didn't go out either, but not one person left the road. There wasn't even any curtain twitchers. I'd say everybody, if they weren't in the pub, they were just sitting in front of their TV watching what I believe was supposed to be entertainment, so something with Robbie Williams on. I didn't say it myself, but I did hear that.
Apparently, it was horrendous. That's
what I heard. Yeah, I don't know exactly what happened, but I heard he was either rude or crude or something. But that was entertainment.
He shook hands with some people at the front of the crowd. From what I'm aware of, I don't know if it's true because I don't watch television. It was just what I've seen on Facebook. And apparently he went and poured hand sanitizer on his hands after he'd let members of the public touch him. I don't know if it's true, but that's what I heard.
Well, that's exactly what I heard as well, and it came from a reliable source.
I saw a picture of him holding the hand sanitizer, but I wasn't sure if the story was accurate or not.
Yeah, well, he obviously holds himself in very high regard, and we don't want Robbie getting sick,
Yeah, of course, absolutely. Yeah, what a tragedy that would be.
Exactly. I did see part of that as well, and Steve, you're right. I remember years ago going out at 12 o'clock, being young, and the neighbours being out there, and everybody wishing each other a happy New Year and all that. And that's kind of gone in society, and will we ever get that back? I don't know whether we'll ever get that back. Maybe if there's a massive power cut and an EMP and it blows out the electricity grid and we don't have any internet and mobile phones, we might go back to community, and that's what might need to happen for us to go back to community when we don't have the distractions in our life like mobile phones and the internet.
Yeah, I think actually that's a very valid point, because you see it now. When I walk down the street, obviously I live in London, you walk down the street, 95% of people have got their head in a phone. And I just think we miss so many opportunities to communicate with each other. And we spoke about this, Alan, during the show we did on relationships. How many people miss the opportunity to catch each other's eye? Because if you walk past somebody, the majority of the time they've got their head on a phone.
Yeah.
And we do it in our own homes as well. We've become antisocial with our own families because everybody in the room is scrolling through their phone.
Yeah.
We just don't communicate on that level anymore. Yes, the internet can be great for communication, but it's stopped us communicating on a personal level.
Yeah, I think it's great as a tool to be used as a tool, like everything else. But when it starts replacing social contact, then you have to kind of draw the line and say, okay, enough's enough. I myself do my best to try and, obviously, because I use the internet so for so many things, from business to OYM to other stuff. So, but I am conscious of the fact to try and keep away from it as much as I can, and just go off and do other things as well, because you do get fed up. There's times that you think, I don't really want to sit down. I know there's certain research that you have to do, and that's fair enough, but I've definitely reduced the amount of time I spend doing that, because I don't want to be sitting down looking at a screen. I want to go out and do other stuff. And And I think that's what everybody needs to do. I mean, myself and Steve, we don't have internet access on our phone. We've disabled that. And Steve, I think Steve these days is beginning to keep away from his phone more so these days. I have my phone on because I need it for business, but I don't have internet access. I don't have Facebook on it. I don't have all these WhatsApp apps and this app and that app, and we don't even Twitter. I know we have a Twitter account, but I forget the last time I logged into it because I'm just not interested. I'm really not interested. And I think that's people need to do. We need to go back to being social. We need to go back to community. But the problem is, as you said, is we are so busy surviving at the moment with, all these taxes coming in. We don't have the money to pay them. We're robbing Peter to pay Paul. And that has to change. And we can make a change, but we need people power to do it. And as an old boss used to say to me, he used to say, look, if you have a problem, make sure you have 3 solutions. Don't just come and give me the problem. Give me 3 solutions with the problem. So one of the solutions I suggest is the euro idea, because it's simple. You're not asking people to do, take up their time, go and do protests or anything like that. All you say is €1 a month, direct debit. Here's the form, fill it out yourself, give it to your bank, and that's it. You've made your contribution, and thank you very much for that, and it's going to be a big help. And then the group that gets together will be fully transparent, and you'll see what they're doing and how they're doing it and how they're helping people. And that's it. And that's, so I had a phone call from one of the politicians, or one of the parties, Direct Democracy, and they wanted to understand the process because I didn't really go into detail regarding the psychology of it. And then when I explained it to him, he thought, wow, that's it. I get it now. I know where you're coming from. He said, yeah, it's simple. And I said, yeah, exactly. It's simple. But it would work, but we need people to get behind it. So we'll see what 2017 holds for us this year.
Yeah.
So
it's supposed to be a much, much better year energy-wise for everybody. So, I think we're going to move into easier times on a personal level, probably is kind of where we're going this year, which is a good thing for a lot of people. I think last year was pretty dreadful for a lot of people.
And what's your plan of attack for what you're planning to do? What's your plan?
Last year was pretty up and down for me. The year started out spectacularly, and I kind of nosedived and fell off the end of the cliff at the end of the year. Final day of the year, and I had another horrendous bit of news. This last 3 months has been incredibly chaotic for me. I'm going to take a slight change in method this year with the way I do things. I'm really struggling to keep up with the amount of people that are asking for my help in one form or another, and I'm finding that working on a one-to-one basis with people is becoming almost impossible for me now. So I want to broaden my reach, and I would really I'm looking at doing a lot more in the public speaking arena, so that I'm able to communicate with people on a larger scale. And I'm going to set up some webinars as well, and do some online seminars with people, so that I can really tackle a lot of issues at one time with people. Because I'm finding that just using Facebook and YouTube just it's not enough anymore. It's becoming almost restrictive for me, whereas before it was quite a useful tool. Now it's kind of going the other way. And I'm going to get this book finished and out this year. I'm hoping to finally get it done. Every time I feel like I've got where I want to get with it, within a few months, I've had a huge kind of epiphany with something, and I'm like, right, now I need to put that in and that in, and there has to come a point where it stops.
Oh, you have to.
That's it.
Yeah, you have to, because that's book 2. That's the revision.
Absolutely,
edition 2, when you add the extra bits in.
Yeah.
I know what you mean, and I don't know. I'm just going to ask Steve, and I'll ask you as well this question. But Steve, I have noticed, and I don't know whether you've noticed, that definitely YouTube and Facebook are definitely mucking about with things.
Oh, the algorithms, the way they deal, yeah, unbelievably. It's shocking. You know, I'll have people come to me and say, I didn't realise you were still going on Facebook. I haven't seen anything from you in 6 months. I update my Facebook regularly, mostly on a daily basis, because it's where most of my communication is based. It's easier for me because it has such a broad reach. And I will notice that I haven't heard from somebody in a really long time, and I'll go and have a look, and they're still on my friends list, and I haven't seen their posts for God knows how long. Specific advertising, targeted advertising, algorithms, the stuff that appear on my feed. I'll have had a conversation with somebody, and half an hour later, I'll get an advertisement for the thing I've just been talking about.
That's right.
Because my phone is listening to me.
Yeah, that's right.
It is a completely... Facebook, as we're fully aware, is a system-generated creation in order to monitor us and to look at our social behavioural patterns, which is much easier to do with the likes of things like Facebook and Instagram and YouTube. You know, they can calculate using computers where we're at psychologically now.
Yeah, definitely.
It's very easy for them to do.
And that's what they're doing. They're analysing, because understanding human nature and how to manipulate humans is very easy when you have the science to back it up.
Of course, when you've got the teachings of Ed Bernays, who was Freud's nephew, who implemented consumerism in order to herd us, this is just another step up in that game. That's what this is. And when they can watch us the way they do, and we so willingly participate, whatever it is we're talking about, they're always a few steps ahead of us because they have the analysis on what we're doing. Even when you log into Facebook, it tells you what's trending, how many people are talking about a specific topic. You know, it's all there. Yeah,
and people need to be aware of that. That's why I pulled off a lot of the information I had years ago. I took it all down, photos, the whole lot, and I just use it now for talking about stuff that's happening or things I've come across. That's it. There's no personal stuff is going to go up there. If it does, it's going to be very, very general. It's not going to be anything too specific. Steve, have you had any experience with Facebook or YouTube? Have you seen any changes there?
Well, I can't really say any more than what Danielle has already said. There are algorithms at work, and no matter whatever you say, there's going to be an ad there 5 minutes later. A lot of people are missing a lot of people's posts. Again, that's all algorithm. Look, Facebook is a tool. But unfortunately, a hammer is a tool. I control the hammer. I control the screwdriver. I control the hedge trimmers, whatever it may be. We have no control over Facebook. We can post on it. We can share posts and all. And if you are lucky, your post will get out there. It will reach your target audience. But I firmly believe that if Facebook in the morning decide any posts that has any reference to Edward Snowden, it will not appear anywhere. They will flick a switch, create an algorithm, and that will happen. Nobody will be any of the wiser. A lot of people think, isn't Facebook great? And especially from the alternative side, we think it's great because we can alert people to a lot of what's going on, and we can to a certain degree. But that can be taken away. Facebook give, Facebook take it away. Unfortunately, what I believe, well, fortunately, I suppose, it's fortunate for us because we know how to do it. It's unfortunate for people who don't know how to do it, and that is set up a website with a blog. If you were to, I mean, it's not, again, it's something that people would look and go, oh, I don't have the street smarts, I wouldn't be able to do it. But if people invested some little time, a little bit of time, especially people who have something to say and want to be heard, set up a small blogging website. There's loads of free software out there. You can do it. And at least then you know that whatever you put up, you're in control. If you put a post up, it's not going to be deleted 5 minutes later, 10 minutes later. It will reach your target audience. Set up blogging software, WordPress, Joomla. There's a million of them out there if you feel you have something to say. Because if Facebook and YouTube and Twitter and everything that's going to follow suit, all these apps and all, once if we put it up there and we're not in control of it, then it can be taken away, and I think it's not a good thing. Facebook for me, it's a tool. It's a tool I don't use very much. I will see the odd thing on it. I will post very, very once in a blue moon type of thing. But for that reason, because we don't have control over it, there were some alternatives that came along, but I don't think they had the same sex appeal as Facebook, and that was one in Iceland. It was seen.is or unseen.is. It's one of those. When it came along, great fanfare. It was supposed to be set up for people like us in the alternative media. A lot of people went and actually used this software, but then they kind of missed the fact that they couldn't, they were missing a lot of the next door neighbour was posting up, and people, a lot of people are fundamentally nosy, and they want to know what's going on with the neighbours without having to actually look out the window. So unseen.is or seen.is, I can't remember which one it is. It is an alternative for people, but then again, you don't control that either. So sorry for the long-winded answer, but my opinion is, if you have something to say, you want people to hear what you have to say, set up a blog, a website and a blog. That's it.
Exactly. And I think, it's unseen.is, I think it was, Steve. And, I suppose Facebook gets addictive. They said that if Facebook was a country, it'd be a massive country with the amount of people that's logged into it. A fantastic CIA or NSA experiment funded by Zuckerberg. And I think they said that he was the grandchild of Rockefeller or Rothschild, one of them. So you can see where the funding came from.
Yeah, apparently so, yeah.
You can see where exactly. Well, listen, we have about 5 minutes left. Tell us what your plans are, what you're going to be doing. Now, I know you said your immediate plans are you'll be coming over for the Open Mind conference, which I'm hoping to try and get down to. Unfortunately, Steve he's tied up on that weekend, but I'm going to try and get down. What's your plan of attack?
Yeah, I am going to head over for that conference. I'm going to be there for about 3 or 4 days as well, which would be really nice. So it would be great to be able to catch up with a lot of people who I get to interact with on Facebook, who are going to be at the conference that I haven't met yet. So if you're listening, when you come over to me, come over to me.
Hang on, you're breaking up there, Danielle.
Yeah. So just let me know.
Okay, you're breaking up there, Danielle. Do you want to say that again?
Am I good now?
No, you're still breaking up there. Just try that again.
Am I good now? Hang on, bear with me just a moment.
Okay.
How's that?
Okay, just say that again, see if we can get it.
Let people know if anybody is heading over to the conference. If you come over, just introduce yourself, let me know who you are, because a lot of the time I'm uncertain of who you are. Even though you recognise my face, sometimes I don't recognize you, so just let me know who you are, and it'd be really great to meet you. And I'm also to David Icke talking.
It's just funny that your audio was perfect all through the interview tonight, and in the last 5 minutes there, your quality actually went down.
Danielle, put another shilling and press the button A or button B.
We've actually lost Danielle, funny enough. I will, let me just see if I can call her back.
While you're trying to get her back there, I'll just say thanks to Dougie as well, Dougie at unseen.is. I actually just went on, clicked on the link, and my profile is actually still there. And I don't see anything saying that they want money, so it's obviously still free as well. But it's worthwhile having an alternative for Facebook, I suppose, just in case. Yeah,
I think it would be good. Again, it's going to take money to get developers in to try and build a system that works, and that works for the alternative media. That's the plan of attack. That would be great if you had the money to. But again, it's probably something that you could do if the funds was there. If again we did the €1 project, then if the funds was there, it might work. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and get Danielle back on quickly if we can. So I'm going to go off to a musical break, and we'll be back after this.
This is Open Your Mind Radio on OYMradio.com, UnitedWeStrike.com, and PeoplesInternetRadio.com.
We can't get Danielle back because her phone just dropped out, and really weird. She said that it's really weird. It just dropped out for some reason, so I don't know what went on there. Technology again, but what can you do? But basically what Danielle said was that if you know what Danielle looks like, and you go over to her, if you're going to the OYM conference and you know what she looks like, and you go over to her, just introduce yourself, because you might know her, but she won't know you. So just say who you are. I'm planning to be down there as well. So now, obviously, you probably won't know what we look like, so we will be, I will be anonymous to a certain extent, because Steve won't be there, and my face isn't around the place. But if somebody does say, I'm not going to be hiding by any way, there will be people down there who might say, oh, that's Alan from OYM, that's him over there. So if you do come over, by all means, I'll be more than happy to have a chat with you. Just introduce yourself and say who you are, if you are in the chat room or whoever. Because like Danielle, we don't know everybody as well, and we see names on Facebook and stuff, but you have to put a name to a face and all that kind of stuff. So that's the plan of attack. Now, if I am going to be going down to the Open Mind Conference, I'll probably be there for the Saturday. I won't be there for the Sunday. For obvious reasons, I'll be coming back for the show on Sunday. So whatever is happening on the Saturday, I'll be there. That's the plan of attack anyway. But Steve, do you want to give us a quick heads up on the Open Mind Conference and the details of it there?
Yes, I would be delighted to do that. If I hadn't already closed the Skype window, just let me open that up again. And here we have it. 1 second now. Okay, just a little visitor in the background there. I just had to get rid of her. Anyway, yes, the Open Mind Conference. It's in Dooley's Hotel in Waterford City. It's on February the 25th and 26th. It's brought to you by the Awake and Aware in South East Ireland group. So far, tickets for the event are selling very well, but you can still get an early bird weekend pass for the whole event for a mere €49, which is a bargain, for these type of events. Limited early bird tickets, the offer for that did actually expire yesterday, the 31st of December. So no point in telling you that there is. There's no point in reading the rest. Again, the Dooley's Hotel, they are doing an overnight stay as well. If you are going to the event on the Saturday and the Sunday and you want to stay over, you can book a room through the hotel. But I think if you tell them that you're actually going to the event as well, they will look after you and you will get a discount on the room. If you just kind of throw into a search engine Open Mind Conference Dooley's Hotel, you will find information on the internet there, more information in relation to room prices as well. So that's definitely worth checking out. While I have the microphone, Alan, I just want to mention as well, we did actually have a question/comment from Dougie earlier, which I believe was for Danielle. Now, I don't know, I'll throw it out there. Maybe we can have a crack at it. I don't know. But Dougie did say that we have two hearts. He said the human heart and the true heart. The true heart needs to be fully open for the vibrational changes to the most effect, and also for the higher mind to communicate with us. Dougie also says that religion, mediumship, law of attraction, tarot cards are a way into spirit. And he said it does matter how to get into spirit, as it is a journey. Now, I know that's something that maybe you could shed some light on more so than I could.
Well, basically that's how I kind of got around the idea, because I spent 5 years focusing on the negative and realising, thinking more, we've had it, there's no way out of this. And then all of a sudden the spiritual side kind of cropped up, and I start researching that and realised, oh, there is a way around this. And that's how I start getting into the spiritual side and the energy side and understanding it and researching it. So I was given the problem for 5 years, and then, within, 2 weeks of my epiphany of what was going on with the world, with 2 weeks after that, I start getting the spiritual side, and there's the problem, but here's the solution. So whatever way you approach the spiritual side, we are all energy, as Danielle said earlier, we are all energy. And if you start drilling down as to, we resonate on a frequency, and everything around us is energy, it's atoms, and we all resonate, and that's what it is. And love energy and hate, they're two frequencies and they're energy. And the love energy is high and the hate energy is low, and what we have to do is try and keep our energies high, because negative energy affects us health-wise and everything else. And that's really the fundamentals of it. Now, we can really drill down even more, but we don't have the time to do it. But that's really it. And unfortunately, if you're in a relationship or you're around people who are negative and pull your energy down, guess what? You're going to be affected by it. So you have to be aware of the people around you and who are having an effect on you in a negative way. And become self-aware. That's really what it is. Be self-aware, and understand this, and just try and have people around you that are positive, and that help your energy, because positivity breeds positivity. And again, we talked before about the 6 people around you, and look at the 6 people closest around you and see if they help you or they hinder you. And that's really what it is. And we talked about this, I think, on the show I did with Danielle, and we talked about that as well. So, the whole relationship thing, because the 2 biggest things that affect relationships is sex and money. So you need to find out who you are, because part of waking up to what's going on is waking up to what they're doing. But when you realize and wake up what they're doing and realize you step outside the matrix, then you have to wake up and find out who you are. And you have to become self-aware. You have to become aware of them, and then you have to become self-aware of who you are and what you are. And if everybody did that, then the world would be a better place. I'd say that. Now, before we quickly wrap things up, I just want to say, next week we are planning to have David Icke on the show. And David Icke's going to be over here in the Helix on the 21st of January. Myself and Steve, thanks to Scott and Maureen who've gifted tickets to myself and Steve, we're going to be going to David Icke show. But we're going to have David Icke on next week, and also we're going to have Trevor from the Open Mind Conference on, giving us a heads up on the conference and what's planned and who's going to be on there as well. Now, we have limited time with David. We haven't booked till about 8 o'clock, so we'll be getting straight into the interview with David next week. Hopefully he'll stay on for a bit longer. Fingers crossed, but we've wanted to get David on for a long time, as long-time listeners of OYM know that we've attempted it before, but due to weather conditions and internet problems, we couldn't get David on. So this is our second attempt. We'd like to thank Scott for sorting out the actual link up with David's people, so we can do this. So hopefully it'll be quite good. Steve. Yeah, obviously, Icke has helped your journey as well, so I think we'll have a lot to talk about next week.
Oh, that we will indeed. No, I mean, he was very instrumental in setting me on the path, be it the right path or the wrong path. He was definitely instrumental. I know when I first had my awakening, and then you were able to give me some information that kind of helped me make sense of a lot of things, and yeah, a lot of his videos were kind of there, and he definitely was instrumental. He's still instrumental today. I still would watch some of his presentations and check out the site. Not as often as I should, but at the end of the day, I don't want to be following the man like he's a new Jesus or something. I will take his information along with other people's information and use it to make try and unravel this world we live in. I know we're close to the wire for time, so I have a very, very, very quick question to ask you. I did come up in the chat room, and it was one that I had myself as well. I heard that the Queen didn't go to Mass on Christmas Day because she was unwell, or she was at the tail end of an illness. Maybe it was the flu, but I didn't hear. And maybe Alan, did she do, the way she used to do a Christmas message or a New Year message or whatever it was, did she do that, or has she gone off the radar?
She did the Christmas message, because I remember my mother-in-law wanted to watch it and I changed the channel. Right. She wanted to see it, and I said, yeah, right, no, we're not going to be watching her. So yes, she did do a Christmas message. I don't know what was in it, because I didn't listen to it. But obviously she's getting on now. I mean, is she dead? Is that a clone? Is that a lookalike? Is she synthetic? Is she an avatar? I mean, who knows?
Or really? Was that message recorded 12 months ago?
Exactly. That mightn't be something that was done at Christmas. It might have been done a long time ago. So who knows? But anyway, that's the time. That's the slot we've got to. And I'd just like to say a big thank you for Danielle for coming online with us and having the chat. Our first show of January 2017. And a big thank you, by the way, to all the emails of people who not only said Happy New Year to us and Happy Christmas and everything else, but everybody saying, thank God OYM are back on air and you're going to be doing 2017. Look forward to the show and all the support, the emails that we've been getting in from people. It really does make a difference when we know that people are listening in, especially from a chap that sent an email over from the Southwest in America, down somewhere in the desert, and he said that him and a few of his friends tune in to the show. So again, hello to you guys over there, and thanks for tuning in. So for myself, Alan James, take it easy, stay safe, and we'll see you next week. Bye bye.
Okay, and for myself, Stephen George, it's good to be back. Although I was in the studio, I will be in the studio next week. So we'll catch you all again. Stay tuned if you're on PIR. I believe Vin is up next. Until next week, take care. Bye bye.
Open your mind.